Did you know that 20% of people surfing the web do so with the help of assistive technology? In any given day, that could be roughly 1 billion people. According to the 2024 WebAIM 1 Million survey, an average of 56 accessibility errors were found on the home pages sampled. So it was no surprise when I stumbled across this accordion that was not keyboard accessible. So in this video, I'll show you how I updated this accordion to make it accessible, all without altering the HTML. Then I'll show you how you can cut your coding time in half by using native HTML elements and only 6 lines of JavaScript. So if you're ready, fire up your favorite editor and let's code. The first step in creating accessible components is to start with semantic HTML. Native interactive elements have some accessibility built in and include the behaviors users expect right out of the box. Although this approach is preferred, it may not always be the case that you're building a new component from scratch. It may be the case that you can't alter the HTML. For example, let's take a look at the accordion from earlier. The first thing you'll notice is this component is built with mainly divs and not semantic HTML elements. You'll notice this button isn't an actual HTML button, but a div styled to look like a button. To avoid altering the HTML, I'll be adding ARIA roles and attributes to enhance this accordion and make it keyboard accessible. But before I do, it's important to note that ARIA attributes are like syntactic sugar. They're there to enhance elements when there's no better alternative in HTML. Using a button element when you need a button will always be the easier, more accessible way to build. With that said, to improve this custom button, I'll add the role of button. The addition of the button role changes the semantics of this div, so that assistive technology will announce the element as a button. However, it's important to note that ARIA roles only provide semantics, and not the behavior and keyboard support users expect. You'll notice that I can't tab to the button, or activate it using the Enter or Space keys. Without proper functionality, this component fails basic accessibility standards. So how do we improve this? First, I'll add the ARIA controls attribute to the buttons. Then I'll assign an ID to each panel and reference that ID in the controls attribute. Now each panel is associated with its corresponding control. Next comes a bit of JavaScript. Originally, this accordion used JavaScript to toggle the display of the panel between none and block. I would highly discourage this technique because if the JavaScript fails to load, the user will not be able to reach the content in the panel. Plus, anyone who's using assistive technology will have no way of knowing if the button they're trying to activate has expanded the panel or not. Instead, I'll use the ARIA expanded and hidden attributes to toggle the visibility of the panel. First, I'll create a function that will activate the panel. Then I'll assign variables for the panel and the button. If the button's ARIA expanded attribute is set to true, I'll set it back to false and set the panel's hidden attribute to true. Otherwise, I'll set ARIA expanded to true and remove the hidden attribute from the panel. Next, I'll add an event listener to each button. I'll do this within for each method on the accordions, in preparation for some progressive enhancements I'll be making a little later on. For now, I'll grab the button and add an event listener so when the user clicks, the activate panel function will fire. I'll also set the hidden attribute to true on each panel, so that their starting state is hidden. Now when I click the button, the panel opens and closes. I can see in the accessibility tree, both attributes are toggling between true and false. But our work isn't done yet. When a button receives focus, it should be able to be activated with the Enter and Space keys. Since Enter triggers on key down, and Space triggers on both key down and key up, I'll create 2 functions to handle these events. The key down function will include a condition to prevent the space key's default scroll behavior. Next, I'll add event listeners to the button for the key down and key up events. I'll also be sure to add the buttons to the tab order by setting tab index to 0. I'll also add an event listener to each accordion so that users can also click the label to open the panel. Now I have a fully functioning button with proper keyboard support. Listen to NVDA in Firefox announce these buttons.
Button toggle accordion, expanded, collapsed. Clickable toggle accordion button, expanded, collapsed. Clickable toggle accordion button, expanded. collapsed. Clickable toggle accordion button collapsed. Expanded.
This is a huge improvement over the original button functionality. Plus, since most of the ARIA was added via JavaScript, the content is still accessible if JavaScript fails to load. So far, this is working great, but you may have noticed that each button is being announced as toggle accordion. If this sounds repetitive to you, you are not alone. If I inspect DevTools, I can see that the element's accessible name is derived from the ARIA label attribute. Accessible names convey the purpose of the element and distinguishes it from other elements on the page. An element's accessible name is derived from its contents, as in links and headings, or, like in this example, from attributes like ARIA label and ARIA labeled by. However, using the same label for every button in an accordion can cause confusion for assistive technology users. As we've seen, the screen reader announces each button as toggle accordion, making it unclear what content is about to be revealed. Also, the visible label of each trigger doesn't match the element's accessible name. Per WCAG, matching accessible names to visible labels improves user experience, allowing speech input users to navigate by speaking visible labels, and ensuring that sighted screen reader users hear the same text they see. To fix this, instead of the ARIA label, I'll use ARIA labeled by, and give this button some text. I'll give an ID to the span, and reference that ID in the labeled by attribute. Then I'll use the global hidden attribute to hide it both visually and from assistive technology. Did you know that you can reference more than one ID in a labeled by attribute? To make this accessible name even more descriptive, I'll give the heading an ID and add it to the labeled by attribute. Take a look in DevTools. Each button now has a unique and descriptive accessible name. Here is NVDA in Firefox speaking each button.
Clickable toggle course curriculum button. Clickable toggle internships and opportunities button. Clickable toggle study abroad button, expanded. Collapsed. Clickable toggle course curriculum button.
This is really shaping up. Optionally, you can create a relationship between the accordions by grouping them together. One way to group elements is to nest them within a landmark element. Here, I'll wrap the accordions in a section element. By default, the role of the section element is generic, but we can upgrade that role to region by giving the section an accessible name. To do this, I'll add descriptive text using a span and give it an ID. I'll add the ARIA labeled by attribute to the section and reference the ID of the span. Don't forget to add the global hidden attribute. If your markup already includes a descriptive heading, you can simply add that ID instead. Listen to NVDA in Firefox as it announces the accordion and its associated label.
Summer course information region clickable button toggle course curriculum. Clickable toggle internships and opportunities button. Clickable toggle study abroad button.
I can improve this further by adding the button only when JavaScript loads. This way, without JavaScript, the content will display as a simple heading and paragraph. Creating a custom accordion and making it accessible takes a bit of work, but it's totally doable. That said, you should always reach for semantic HTML elements whenever you can. Luckily for us, HTML provides elements that are meant to be used when creating accordions. Let's take a look at how to create an accordion using the details and summary elements. These elements are naturally interactive and provide all functionality right out of the box. The details element creates the widget where content is revealed only when it's toggled into an open state. The summary element provides the label for the widget. By default, the widget can be activated with a mouse click and the enter and space keys. To help users navigate, just be sure the summary text clearly describes the content it's revealing. To create a multi-section accordion, just repeat the structure. Feel free to add a custom toggle, but be sure to use the ARIA hidden attribute to remove the toggle from the accessibility tree. The only JavaScript needed is if you want only one panel to open at a time. To do so, add these 6 lines of code. And there you have it, a fully functional accordion, created with native HTML and an optional 6 lines of JavaScript. The web is constantly evolving, but no matter how advanced the tech gets, we should never lose sight of the fundamentals, starting with semantic, well-structured HTML. The best interfaces are the ones that everyone can use. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy coding!